I have a tale of a flailing Biden administration. Some heartland Americans, and probably many of you, were angered last week to hear that President Joe Biden decided to remove singer Lee Greenwood from the National Council on the Arts. The singer whose signature God Bless the USA has been played at patriotic events since he wrote it in 1984, said he was surprised at his ouster from the panel after having first been appointed by former President George W. Bush. That was quite a while ago. He told Fox and Friends on Thursday, quote, "I was quite shocked, to tell you the truth. I didn't get a phone call or letter. It was just an email." Now, look, Joe Biden certainly has a right to choose his own nominees for the Arts Council. God Bless the USA is neither a Republican nor a Democratic song. In fact, Greenwood was nominated to his current 6-year term on the Arts Council by Barack Obama in 2014. So this is not some sort of partisan choice. Greenwood served his 6-year term, and part of Joe Biden's job literally is to either renominate him or replace him with somebody else. So, look, maybe Mr. Greenwood, is turning 79 next month, so perhaps President Biden thought he might be getting a little long in the tooth for such work. That's a joke, of course. Biden himself will turn 79 about a month later, less than a month later, after Greenwood does. Greenwood certainly seems to be aging better than the president. Greenwood, for instance, will go on Fox and Friends without scripted questions or a teleprompter. But Joe Biden, can do whatever he wants with the Arts Council. And most of America will be outraged for like 20 minutes, and then they'll move on to something that might have a little more impact on their lives, which would include almost anything. Speaking personally, I gotta tell you, I don't even love this song. I don't like some of the lyrics. The fourth line of the song says, "Because the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away." Yes, they can. They've been doing it for decades, and it's gotten worse. Maybe you haven't noticed, but it's much worse the past couple of years. One of the most moving lines, I think, in it actually is, "I won't forget the men who died who gave that right to me, the right to freedom." Dying men didn't give us any rights. Those rights were given to us by our Creator, God Almighty, not the men and women who we honor every Memorial Day, and rightly so. They defended those rights, but they didn't give them to us. So those lyrics aren't true, and I just don't like things that aren't true. And I really don't like things in movies and television and music that aren't true, because we tend to quote them and repeat them, and we just remember them. And we too easily sometimes find ourselves believing lies because they were convincingly uttered by a skilled actor or set to a catchy tune. That said, I do very much appreciate the spirit in which I believe Lee Greenwood wrote and recorded this song, at least what I think he was trying to get at. And at any rate, my issue with the Biden administration here doesn't have much to do with the song itself. It's similar to the issue I have with them regarding Afghanistan. It's not so much what Biden wanted to do as the way he went about doing it. Greenwood is a man beloved by millions of Americans, others around the world, for that matter, for a song that represents at least a little bit of what so many of us feel about this country. My personal misgivings about some of the lyrics aside, I would, in fact, gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, Mr. Greenwood. So for Joe Biden to end Greenwood's honorable tenure at the National Council of the Arts with an email that no one would take the time for even a phone call seems to me to mean one of two things. Either there's no one in the Biden administration who can stomach a conversation with an actual American patriot, or there's no one in the Biden administration who knows how to do anything. Caleb, which do you think it is?
I'm not sure, George. Can it be both?
Yeah. I suppose it can be both. Yeah.
I think, for me personally, I connected a little bit more with the first point. It just seems like when it comes to patriotism, love of country, and somewhat of a awareness of our history and kind of that connectiveness with Middle America, the Biden administration has proven time and time again that they have little to no interest in engaging with those folks.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
So to run Lee Greenwood out of the White House after 13 years of doing an exceptional job of being such a distinguished public figure, it's a PR mishap at the very least. But I think it's just this continual idea that if you have this love for your country and you're not apologetic in the way that you go about communicating it, that's just something that doesn't seem to be very in vogue with the Biden White House.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't even seem to acknowledge that Heartland America exists. Like,
Right.
It's just a handful of people.
Just
that,
something to fly over between LA
Yeah,
and New
yeah,
York.
exactly. Tara, what do you think?
Well, I think that just in general, from any PR standpoint, I think it's a huge mistake when you're taking someone who wrote God Bless the USA, and that's a #1 iconic song, just to have them removed from the council overall, because it's supposed to be, you know, this national council for music. And so if you take away someone who's a cornerstone in society, probably at the top of everyone's 4th of July playlist, I just don't think it's going to go over well. And I think it again demonstrates the lack of forethought and critical thinking that the Biden administration has had Americans get used to during these last 8 or so months of their actual running of the country.
Yeah, it's disturbing that we've kind of gotten used to it at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
It really is.